And moving on to our first panel, which is about financial education, a catalyst for financial resilience. I will introduce the moderator, and the moderator will introduce the panel itself. Our moderator today for panel one will be Christophe de Witte. He is a full professor in education, economics, and political economy at the Faculty of Economics and Business at KU Leuven, a university my son is trying to get into now. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. He holds the chair in effectiveness and efficiency of educational innovations at United Nations University at Maastricht University, the Netherlands. So I invite Christophe and the panel to take the stage.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here on this panel and to serve in the first panel. We have very high expectations on this first panel. So indeed, my name is Christophe de Witte. So I'm working as a professor at the University of Leuven, where I do quite a bit of experiments to financial literacy. So we look in schools and secondary schools on what works in terms of financial literacy, how to deliver financial literacy. And I'm also involved in the curriculum committee in Flanders, where we do have financial literacy as part of the compulsory education for both secondary education as well as in primary education. So this will start now in September. From September onwards, all kids in Flanders will deal with financial education. And so this brings me to this panel, because we deal here with financial education and how financial education can work as or act as a catalyst for financial literacy. And here we do have extremely good panelists. So the first one is Pascal Munafo. He's the chair of the Committee on Retail Investors of the International Organization of Securities Commissions, IOSCO. So it's a pleasure to have you on the panel. We also have Fatima Zahra Aziz. She's executive director of the Moroccan Foundation for Financial Education. And we do have Amy McCleary. She's the chief customer officer of the Bank of Ireland. And in the end of the panel, we would like to share a bit of thoughts. As the commissioner said, we would like to have concrete solutions. And that's basically the aim of what we'd like to discuss here in the panel, because the stakes are very high. You've heard it from the earlier keynotes. We do have quite a bit of need for financial education. We need it because of macro stability. We need it because of micro stability. We need it to have better pensions. There is the link with savings, with fragility. We do have also the need for vulnerable groups, how to reach specific groups, how to reach people in this increasingly complex financial landscape. And we do have, of course, also the link with the work that the OECD has been doing together with the European Commission in the financial competence framework. All of those topics we will discuss today in this panel, and I will be also a bad cop, so I will also try to keep you short in the discussions, because at the end of the session, we would like to have a question and answers. So please, don't be shy, as the commissioner said. Make sure that you raise your questions, make sure that you raise your voice at the end of the session. We do have about 10 to 15 minutes to discuss things that you would like to agree with, the viewpoints of the panelists on specific questions that you have. But first, I would like to give you the floor, Pascal, on how do you see your role and your organization's role in raising financial education and the catalyst as a financial
thank you very much, and hello everyone. It's a very pleasure to be here, and let me thank the European Commission and the FSMA of Belgium for their kind invitation, also for this very relevant initiative that is in connection with the Belgian presidency of the Councils of the European Union. I'm Pasquale Munafo. I work at CONSOB, the Italian Financial Markets Authority, and I'm also the chair of the IOSCO Committee 8 on Retail Investors. As you may know, IOSCO is the standard setter for the securities sector, so I will basically bring the voice of securities regulators and their approach towards investor education to the analysis, which I would say a threefold perspective: worldwide, European, and Italian. So financial resilience, I would say maybe investor resilience, that's we are talking about securities regulator, has become a key concept and is kept monitored in our dashboards with great attention, especially since the pandemic, of course, and the succession of, I would say, different situation of crisis. So financial consumers should be assisted in acquiring the ability to navigate among all these challenges and the risk that the growing complexity of our economy is bringing to our lives. So at the IOSCO level, at the moment, the big focus in the field of investor education and protection is on the new trends which have emerged in the recent years and to some extent that's accelerated due to the pandemic. So phenomena like crypto assets, influencers, the surge of online frauds and scams, the so-called digital engagement practices, so the theme of sustainable finance, so new ways of approaching the opportunities of financial markets. So new actors, new investors, the so-called self-directed investors, younger than before, I would say. So, and then they need to keep the pace with all these progresses and the high level of complexity which makes resilience a benchmark for any initiative in this field. So something that, of course, Europe is experiencing as well. I've got the opportunity to join the subgroup of financial education at the Joint Committee of the three ISAs, so where the initial aim has been on the sharing of experiences and initiatives with the creation of sort of a repository of initiatives focused on digitalization. And there are more specific focus on inflation and also on sustainability. So not to speak about the work of the European Commission, the OECD, that we will have the opportunity to talk later. So in Italy, as we will see later, also our Council contribution stems from our participation to the National Committee on Financial Education, so, and also with our individual initiatives in the field of investor education, but I think we will come back to this later.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. McCleary, how do you see your role and the role of your organization in raising financial education?
Thank you, and thank you so much for the invitation today and for this initiative, because I think it's through sharing these experiences that ultimately society and we'll all benefit. My role is Chief Customer Officer with Bank of Ireland. Just to give you a sense of what that role means, we have 4 million customers, predominantly in Ireland, but in the UK and also in some of our more global offices as well. Within the broad remit of the role is the financial wellbeing programme, as we call it in the bank. So what do we define as financial wellbeing? And I was interested in the comments earlier in relation to mental well-being and physical well-being, because I think they're three parts of the same pod. I don't think any of them can be in isolation. But for financial well-being within Bank of Ireland, we very much see that as three different areas. Firstly, inclusion, and that's around access and ensuring everybody has access to finance. So that's very much looking and working with a number of advocacy groups for vulnerable and vulnerable type customers and more marginalised. Also around literacy and capability, which I know we'll touch on later in the panel, but that's very much around ensuring that people have that education and through schools, but also wider society, that they understand finance and they understand the impact that wise and appropriate financial decisions can have on their overall lifestyle and from a societal point of view. And then the third piece is around resilience and confidence. And ultimately, that's nearly the icing on the cake, to have that confidence in relation to financial decisions, which can give such a different impact in people's lives. And one of the areas in particular we're focused on around resilience at the moment is around fraud and fraud education. We're finding it's an increasing business, unfortunately, and that really we find that our customers need more and more education, particularly our youth customers, where they spend a lot of time, as you referenced, on social media and also with influencers, and we just need to be mindful that they might be less risk averse than some of our other customers. So ensuring that we're out there around messages like stop, think, check. If it looks too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. So I suppose that's a piece in relation to the role overall and the three areas that fit into it, as I say. Initially, inclusion, ensuring everybody has access. Secondly, around literacy and education. And the third one there around resilience and overall confidence and the growing role that fraud education is playing in that space. But I suppose in terms of the survey and the survey results that were given, we've done a survey across Ireland as well, and not surprisingly, the survey results are quite similar. So we have a financial literacy level of 1 in 2. And I suppose when you think about that, it is quite shocking that 1 in 2 effectively are not deemed to be financially literate. So the benefits to society and the benefits, I suppose, as I say, to that wider well-being from doing more in that space is very much what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Zahra Aziz?
Yes. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. Special thank for the European Commission and for Commissioner McGuinness for this invitation. It's an honor for me. Thank you for FSMA also for hosting this very interesting and important event. I appreciate the importance that you give to financial literacy. We are more and more passionate by these topics, and it is really important for our society. Even European countries or less developed ones, such as Morocco. Well, I represent the Moroccan Foundation for Financial Education, and I will give a brief presentation of our role and responsibilities and how we deal with this topic in Morocco. The Moroccan Foundation for Financial Education was established 10 years ago at the initiatives of the Central Bank. We are an independent structure but dedicated to financial education in Morocco. We have our main mission is to coordinate all initiatives in Morocco, and we cooperate. We have a large network of private and public institutions as member of our keyboard, but also as stakeholders of the National Strategic Plan for Financial Education. So 10 years ago, the financial education and financial inclusion was an important topic in Morocco. We have created and established this institution in charge of strengthening and reinforcing financial capacity for Moroccan citizens to attain well-being. And after the COVID, we also have as objective and goal to reinforce their financial resilience. Now, in this period of elevated inflation and crisis, financial literacy for me and the relation link with the resilience become more and more important and crucial to be managed and to be prioritized in political and government action and decision. So how we manage all this? Very briefly, I think we have, after the occasion to talk more about our strategy, priorities and programs. But one thing I want to focus on is the relation between financial literacy strategic plan and the National Strategy for Financial Inclusion. We are aligned to this national strategy, and therefore we cooperate with all public and private actors of this national strategy. This gives us an opportunity to base on the achievement of the national strategy and also to analyze and use data that is produced under the National Strategy for Financial Inclusion. In terms of target population and pillar, we are also aligned to this strategy. Our prior target population are women. I saw that in your presentation there is a gap in your countries. In Morocco, the gap is more large than the one you presented. But we have our approach and our strategy to face this situation. We have dedicated programs for women, for youth, for very small businesses, and also for rural. Rural presents also a gap in terms of financial inclusion as well as financial literacy. I think I will stop here.
Okay, very good. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You agree?
Yeah, because we know we have to go to the core of the session, and this deals with financial education. And so many of you touched upon financial education already. We've seen it in the earlier presentation by Maria on, half of the population, of the European population, doesn't answer those basic questions. 3 of the 5 basic questions are not answered correctly. So then it comes to, can we reach kids through school? Can we go to education at school? And how can the voluntary European Union, OECD, INFE finance competence work with that? How can this facilitate what we learn at school? And maybe I give you the first the floor, Ms. Aziz, on what can we do about it, and how can we reach those specific target groups that you mentioned already? What kind of strategies might be there for that?
Well, for children at school, we start in Morocco for several years by extra-scholar activities with the cooperation of the Ministry for National Education. This ministry is member of our board at the foundation, and also very important stakeholders for financial education in general in Morocco. So for maybe 9 or 10 years, we started with this kind of activities, extra activities, such as events. Global Money Week is an example, and other events, national and international events for financial education. We have also trained teachers and inspectors on financial literacy and these concepts to make them more familiar with the topic of financial education. We have to prepare the introduction of financial literacy in the curricula. And finally, with the close cooperation with the ministry, on 2022, we introduced financial literacy at the primary school. So it's a real achievement for us in Morocco, even if it is just half hour of financial literacy activities per week. But this is a start, and we work with this ministry to make it more important. Our goal is to teach teachers on this topic and to make them maybe given more time under other topic they teach at the school. And now we were based on OECD frameworks, of course, obviously, and also Aflatoon materials. I don't know if you know Aflatoon ONG, but we cooperate a lot. It is an international ONG based on Amsterdam, and they produce a lot of pedagogical materials on financial literacy particularly for youth and children. So in French, Arabic, and English, and I don't know if there is other language, but we cooperate with this organization to adapt these materials to the Moroccan context, and we appreciate this collaboration. We are now working with the ministry to integrate financial literacy under the secondary level, and to reinforce this integration for the primary one. But in parallel, we work a lot of and to provide financial literacy to specific groups other than child at schools, because we have specific groups such as women, rural population, and also very small businesses. In Morocco, we have also an important number of illiterate persons, so we have to support them by providing with the specific programs and specific channel of financial literacy. We have some successful examples for women in rural area, and also for second chance schools and very interesting cooperation with the National Agency Against Illiteracy.
Okay, thank you very much. So a lot of things that are going on in Morocco. For my own research, we saw, by the way, that training teachers is a very effective way to stimulate the self-efficacy of teachers. So suddenly, if we do the randomized control trials in Flanders, the trained teachers, they were suddenly eager to discuss with the most competent students even, so that also their financial literacy was improving. So it's a very effective strategy that we saw in Flanders as well.
Indeed, teacher could be our ambassador
Exactly.
of financial literacy if they are well trained on the
Indeed.
topic.
So, Mr. Munafo.
Yeah, thanks very much. So it's, we know that the educational systems around the world can vary very significantly. So it's very, fascinating also to hear from Morocco and all these progresses that have been done. So whenever we have meetings at IOSCO level, also at the OECD HIMF, it's always the case to hear from kind of emerging countries also the priority that they give to financial literacy. So it's very fascinating. So, and regardless of the different system in place, what would be important not to defer, just I would say the basic, the messages, the content. So therefore, I think it is very important to have standards, at least for the content. Even though, as already said, educational systems at national level could experience different levels of governance, organization, and competencies, one from another. So with regard to Europe, CONSOB actively contributed to the development of the European Commission OECD financial competency frameworks, one for adults and one for youth. So notwithstanding the differences between jurisdiction, the framework for youth, I think is a very useful tool to get the identification of the main topics and the suggested competencies, depending on your age class, touching upon also new trends like sustainability and digitalization. So going more directly to the question specifically to my country, I already mentioned the establishment of the National Committee on Financial Education in 2017. So since then, one of the priorities has been to foster the introduction of the financial education at school. So among the others, the committee has developed some guidelines called the Guidelines for the Development of Financial Education Skills in Schools, which are a tool made available to school principals and teachers to include the teaching of financial education in the educational program. Since financial education is a long-term process, integration with the school curriculum must take place as early as first cycle schools in order to allow for a kind of progressive approach. So the idea is just to develop the teaching of this knowledge as I would say, transversal subject, so included in the educational program. So due to the complex nature of the topics, and the need for a kind of a holistic approach in tackling the various issues, say that financial education cannot be limited to a single subject, but should instead be the result of kind of interdisciplinary and coordinated, I would say, pathways and approach. Also, it's important to highlight just to promote the acquisition of financial skills, I would say it's important to use active teaching methodologies. So, for example, the workshop mode, so experience-centered learning, problem solving, the use of interactive teaching tools. So something that can use people just to test themselves with concrete situations and in suitable learning context. So at the national level, as CONSOB, we help also schools to put this into practice. so to introduce these standards. And more generally, we have implemented project with the schools based on the application of these standards. So very, very quickly also on the, I would say, underrepresented. So it's very important to identify these categories by means of national surveys and to tailor specific programs for these categories, ideally within a national strategy. So we have implemented specific initiatives for women, young, elderly people, and small and medium entrepreneurs. So a common practice here, I would suggest just to engage with the institutions on the territory. So municipalities, public schools for adults, trade associations, non-profit organizations. I think that it's very important to involve these kind of institutions just to have a more effective approach to this issue.
Okay, thank you very much. So the active teaching you will see in the Wikifin lab later on today, this will be very active, so you will definitely be pleased on that. So Mrs. McCleary, I give the floor to you.
Thank you. So look, a lot of similarities in what's being said and great learnings as well. We have 3 different programs that we run. One is for 5 and 6-year-olds, one is from 7 to 12, and one is from 13 to 18 in line with the schooling groups within Ireland. I think the huge learning that we've had is that it needs to be interesting, relevant and fun. Effectively, we sometimes we know what we want the students to come away with, but it's how we deliver it to make sure that it becomes relevant to them, and that's the best kind of learning they'll take. So very participative. We run a Money Smarts competition nationally, which schools can compete against each other in relation to their money knowledge and that, and it's great involvement. It is voluntary in terms of signing up to. So we have a million of our population within the school system at any one time, or at that age group. And over the last 5 years, we've engaged 500,000 students in these programs. What we do find is when we're in schools and we're engaging in these programs, the repeat ask each year to come back. So there's definitely an appetite for something within the schools in this regard, and for it to be something that students, I suppose if you all think back to your schooling days, there's probably subjects that you looked forward to and subjects that you didn't. And I suppose the important thing here is that it's a subject that people want to engage in because it's a life skill. So we need to make it relevant to their everyday life. So I think, as I say, it's voluntary, it's not mandatory. And in 2022, the Department of Finance in Ireland recommended a national financial literacy strategy. And that's something that we would absolutely support. We've participated along with NGOs, along with other state agencies and other bodies in relation to the consultation phase, just around a gap analysis. What's there today? What can we actually build on? And what would the gaps be in relation to moving in that direction? You mentioned in the question, like, are there any specific groups? I think, again, not surprisingly, but just shows that the level of concentration we need to have. The same groups that are coming out in both of my other panelists' comments, we find that the female level of financial literacy is lower, also in lower socioeconomic areas and also at a youth level. So the schools programme is one thing, but also having to lean out into those marginalised groups, having to lean out through advocacy bodies, and having to actually, specifically look to target those areas where, from a societal point of view, they can get the most benefit in their wider lives, is also something that we look at.
Okay, thank you very much. So far we've discussed financial education. Our session deals with financial education as a catalyst for financial resiliency, and you've seen it also in the earlier presentation. So in this presentation, you see that financial education really links to what you named, Maria, the fragility, and this huge correlation there. So now I would like to discuss a little bit this linkage. How do you see initiatives from IOSCO, for instance, on financial resiliency, and how can it influence that? But also, how does it link with the assessments that the national assessments or the assessments that the European Commission is doing, or European assessments? So please, Pascal, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity also to speak about speaking about the IOSCO initiative. I would like to talk about the IOSCO World Investor Week that was launched in 2017. So also thanks to Jean-Paul as a chairman of the IOSCO board for your full and continuous support to this initiative. The World Investor Week is held the first week of October every year. It's a global awareness campaign addressed to security regulators to retail investors. So it's built around the key messages and key themes. So it's based on the cooperation between securities regulators and other stakeholders. Also, for example, international organization, we have the support of G20 every year. And also, it's very important to highlight this kind of cooperation between regulators on the building of the calendar of this initiative. I would say that investor resilience has been one of the key messages of the last two campaigns, just in conjunction with the pandemic. Among the others, we held a global webinar on investor resilience last year. And something that is very much related to the topic investor resilience is financial planning. So also within the calendar of the World Investor Week, we have the World Financial Planning Day. That is an event organized by the Financial Planning Standards Board. So just to highlight the link between financial planning and resilience. So from an investor point of view, it's very important to have this familiarity with the concept of financial planning. So we say in a nutshell, the World Investor Week is a platform where to, I would say, experiment and launch also new formats. So the good of this initiative is just to count on the efforts of many different people and organizations, different backgrounds, to organize different formats, to reach out to also different targets of people. So initiatives that can be launched during the campaign can last for, I would say, 1 day, for 1 week, weeks, months, and so on. So this can become the basis for also permanent initiatives. Some of these initiatives are from the very beginning designed to be tested by impact evaluation, just starting with the easiest way to do this is just to submit questionnaires at the beginning of the event and just at the end of the program. So what we do also every year just to collect all these initiatives, also the outcome of this initiative in a public report. And so everyone can just identify the ones that would make sense just to replicate, to take into account for their own jurisdictions. So with regard to the 2023, we are still gathering the responses of the survey from the participant jurisdictions. So speaking more specifically about my country, I would like to say just a few words about some innovative formats that we launched during the World Investor Week campaigns, so in particular in the area of the so-called edutainment. So we have generally got a positive feedback from the participants on this kind of format. So as an example, I can just speak about 2 different formats. One is called the Beware of Scams. This was launched in 2018. It's a show conference inspired by the famous Ponzi scheme phenomenon, with the opportunity to have interaction with the audience and also with these Q&A sessions. So I would say this kind of an exercise for resilience to traditional fraud scams, because we have experienced a lot of also surge of online scams and frauds, but most of them are very linked to this very traditional form of scam. That is the Ponzi scheme. The other one is called The Moment is Cryptic. It was launched last year. Is a theater piece, so where the title plays with the Italian word critico, that means critical, and crypto, that means crypto. So this provides some useful tips for recognizing risks associated with crypto and online scams. And also, in terms of resilience, this kind of resilience to the new risks stemming from this new form of investments.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm also very happy to see that you do the impact evaluation, because very often we do things and we innovate, but we don't measure the impact. And it's very important to do it in a rigorous way with randomized control trials, with pre-test, post-test, to see what does it work. And from things that work, we can learn to other countries. So I guess that's the thing that you can share maybe also next time. So what worked there and what happened there? So please, Mrs. Zahra, Aziz, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, well, in Morocco, we have started to relate financial education to financial resilience immediately after the COVID crisis. We know, all of us, that this is really awareness, give us awareness about the necessity to be well prepared to and to anticipate to shocks and crises. So how we do that? We in this context of crisis, COVID, post-crisis, and also in the current period of, as I said before, elevated inflation and their impact on household and individuals, and also entrepreneurs, we have adapted our financial education strategy and programs. Our approach focused on three key aspects. First, we have to identify both existent and new vulnerable population. The COVID give us new vulnerable population, even those who have a normal economic and financial situation become vulnerable. So we have to identify this group of population and to understand more their needs and expectation. Second, we have designed financial education programs as well as for individuals and to support business recovery in the post-crisis period. In Morocco, the recovery post-COVID, mainly post-COVID crisis, was very difficult because several sectors was impacted. And at the last, we have advanced economic resilience as a goal of our ongoing financial education initiatives. To illustrate, I want to share with you a program, specific program dedicated to handicraft men and women. I think, as you know, all of you, that handicraft artisanal in Morocco is an important sector of activity, and it's employed more than 2 million of people. This sector was very, very impacted by the crisis. First, it could be handicraft could be considered as an extra, and also tourists when they stop to come to Morocco, they don't have to where to commercialize their products. So, with the Ministry of Handicraft and also with the regional chambers, professional chambers for handicraft, and in cooperation with some financial banks, we set up a program to support this population to succeed in the recovery of their business by topics such as how to make diagnostic of their business. I think post-COVID, this was a very important topic for this very small entrepreneur. How how they could evaluate and assess and make the diagnostic of their business to prepare the recovery and the renew of their businesses. We have also introduced treasury treasury management as a topic, financing, because in this period of post-COVID, they need obviously financing. So which kind of financing, which institution where to ask for, and so on. We have also introduced the insurance as topic, how to avoid the difficulties by insurance, by first identifying the risk related to their business, and also by choosing appropriate insurance product. So each year we have trained more than 1,100 handicraft men and women. More than 60% are women. And we make, Christophe, evaluation study, not randomized one, not yet, but we plan to do it. I know that it is very important for you, so I will come back to you for advices.
Very good, very good. Not only for me, it's just for science, so indeed.
But we made an evaluation study, kind of focus group with some of beneficiaries of this program, to ask them about, to have an appreciation, global appreciation, and also qualitative insights about the importance and the interest of this program, training program, and also and particularly the impact on their behavior, on their knowledge and skills, and also on their business. So the response are very positive, and they challenge it for us to continue and pursue the program. So we do it with our partner.
Very good. And I'm also happy to see, so COVID-19, it basically reinforced a lot of negative trends in society, and that's also what you see in financial literacy. But I'm happy to see that you took also the opportunity to build something better out of COVID-19, and that's a nice thing we should do in many countries as well. I'm happy to give you the floor, Mrs. McAleary.
Yeah, so again, building on what my panellists have said, I'll keep it brief rather than repeat. But I think from a resilience point of view, we look at it two ways. We look at the ability to do the rainy day fund, so the day-to-day. If an appliance broke down, could you replace that appliance? And then we have the longer-term resilience in relation to a life-changing event and your ability to withstand that. We have surveyed our customers in that regard, and one of the things at Bank of Ireland we've done is we've signed up to the UN Principles for Responsible Banking in relation to financial inclusion and health. And in particular, we're looking at resilience in that regard. So this is 20 global banks that have signed up to an external metric in relation to moving the dial by 2030. And they're the two areas in particular we're looking at. Yes, rainy day fund, the ability on a day-to-day basis to deal with an unexpected, and then the longer term. In terms of outcomes, you'll be disappointed to hear we don't yet have a measure we can say it's gone from here to here, but it's very much something that we are looking to do. But I do think what we do is survey after, if we go back to even the educational pieces we do with students, to see, you know, what have they taken away, what that they know, and in particular we're looking to see, is there a life skill they've taken from what we've said? Is there something that's going to change the future on the back of what they've learned, without being too dramatic in relation to it? And what we do here in particular from students is they had no concept of the impact on their future credit score decisions they make at a younger age might have. They've no sense of the importance of what they're doing financially in these years into what it might impact them into the future. And the second piece that they hear about is in relation to fraud. And as I mentioned earlier, they're more likely to feel that if it looks too good to be true, they should do it, as opposed to if it looks too good to be true, it possibly is, and they shouldn't do it. So they're the two pieces they directly feed back to us in relation to what they've taken from it, which ultimately will lead to their future resilience. But as I say, the two particular pieces we're looking at, and just to touch on the business customer, because I know we've spoken a lot about youth literacy here, one of the pieces we've looked at is to lean out into other industries and look at sectoral experts and people who are experts in their field, not necessarily in the financial field, and to partner with them to ensure that when macroeconomic changes are happening, when maybe policy changes are happening, that may have a financial impact on those companies, that we bring the sectoral expert with us to educate various different industries at a national level, be that the agri industry or be it manufacturing or the hotel sector, which again was one that we lent into significantly post-COVID and that. So I think it's really that resilience is built again through the corner and base camp of that financial inclusion, financial literacy, and then into that resilience. But it is something that we are starting to measure as we move forward.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. So later on this week, it's a very big event here in Brussels, because later on this week we do have the ECOFIN meeting where financial literacy will be there. So that's on its own is already a very, very big event. And we would like to look a little bit forward, so towards this event. So we do have the commissioner here. What kind of advices would you like to give from your country, from your experiences? What should we do next? How can we move forward? What did you learn from the strategies? And what particularly should the European Union do? What should we do now in this ECOFIN meeting later on this week? What would you advise there?
Big question. So I think, look, first and foremost, no one industry, no one area or agency can actually really build financial literacy and inclusion and resilience at a national and a societal and an international level. So I think it's that importance of working together and holistically. I mean, already on this panel, I've taken great learnings from the experiences to my left, and I'm very much believe that if you can learn from others, isn't that the best way to learn rather than starting off from scratch yourself? So I think if I look at what we've done, we've worked with, the Consumer Protection Commission, we've worked with the Department of Finance, we've worked with a lot of NGOs and a lot of advocacy groups in relation to the specific needs of those their clients and ultimately wider society. So what I'd say is it's that holistic piece. Again, the benefit of what we're doing with the UN around the principles of responsible banking is absolutely to hold ourselves to account in relation to the measures, but it's also learning from 20 global banks in relation to what they're doing in their industries and in their companies. So I'd say it's a collective responsibility. Very much I'd like to see the consistency, and I suppose from an Irish perspective, we would like to ideally see this at the national curriculum level into the future. But I think it's that working together for a shared goal, because ultimately society benefiting has our overall economic future benefiting as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Scott?
Yeah, I think that as a general remark and suggestion, I think that the key to success of any financial educational initiatives should be the use of evidence-based approach. This to start with an analysis of the context and a survey of the needs, and then to develop the related initiatives for the specific targets identified, and then, of course, evaluate the outcomes. Since a one-size-fits-all approach is not adequate, the initiatives undertaken should be part of an overall strategy. So the role of standard setters, such the OECD, INFE, and IOSCO, is that of promoting exchange of experiences and fostering collaboration among different stakeholders. So I would say the spread of best practices. So the involvement of different stakeholders is, of course, crucial. So the European Commission, the OECD have done and are doing a great job in terms of defining standards for the competencies in Europe. As Commissioner McGuinness said before, the recent launch of the retail investment strategy in Europe has confirmed the attention of the European institution to the retail investor market and to the importance of financial education. I think also the open finance framework could be to some extent linked to this, and it would be something that we could explore further. So a major role in Europe might be taken by the three ESAs after the first experience of the subgroup on financial education. Also, we have a very active consumer and trade associations in the region that can contribute even more to the development of, I would say, an European road for financial education. Something that should should mark the present and the future of financial education is closely linked with the digital education, and to exploit as much as possible, the opportunities stemming from the technological advancements. So digitalization can offer the necessary degree of flexibility and coverage to reach out a vast, I would say, portion of the world population. In this regard, the pandemic period has been an incredible laboratory to accelerate the transition to a more digitalized world. Of course, this process, as I already said, could bring new risks or simply the amplification of some bad practices. So online harms from scams represent one of the biggest challenges for regulators. Artificial intelligence is something that we have to think about it and to deal with. And also I can conclude with some thought for discussion. I had the possibility to join some meetings where there was discussion about this possibility new professional position in terms of financial educators, something that we can maybe consider, something different from the financial advisor, as well as some public entities that could certify the quality of the educational initiatives. And just a very couple of few words about the Wikifin that I had the possibility that I was so lucky to have the possibility to visit because of C8 meetings here in Brussels. It's a very wonderful experience, and so want to congratulate Jean-Paul and the Wikifin team for what you have done. That is a very wonderful experience.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Mr. Zif?
Yeah. In my view, it is crucial to define a common direction at national or regional level. If I want to speak about our case in Morocco, we could gain if we have a national strategy for financial education. Now we have a strategic plan aligned with the national strategy for financial inclusion. For your countries, for Europe, I think you could have international or regional strategy, but for each country, you need to adapt to have an adaptation with regard to specifics of each country, with regard to priorities and so on. So, therefore, developing national strategy requires access to data. Data is very important to design and to make decisions and to make choice and priorities. Data and evaluation, as you know, could be very costly. It is not usually possible to have budget to conduct surveys and evaluation studies, to have data to design adequate and appropriate strategy. But in my opinion, and regarding my experience in Morocco, we can, I don't know if we say optimize in English, yeah? We can optimize, and we can also cooperate with all stakeholders. For example, in Morocco, the central bank, which ensure the presidency of our foundation, conduct several and interesting surveys and studies. So we have access to this data, and we could analyze and use it in the design of our strategic plan. Also, we have the others regulators, such as the Authority for Insurance, that recently they have developed a barometer for insurance, inclusive insurance. We have an experience that I would like to share very briefly with the Federation for Insurance Companies. it is private Federation of Private Companies of Insurance. They launched a survey on insurance for entrepreneurs. When they already are also a member of our board, so we have occasion to know about their projects and initiatives. So we suggest them to integrate in these surveys some question concerning financial literacy, concerning the level of financial literacy of entrepreneur, and also the way and the channel they use to be informed and to be trained if it is the case. And I think we gain this data and qualitative also insights that is very important for us to design program on insurance for very small entrepreneurs based on data. This is what one kind of maybe idea. Also, the implementation of national strategy necessitates to identify relevant stakeholders. It's a huge of work and great responsibilities. So no one, even ministries or regulators or other bodies, no one could achieve this and achieve this responsibility alone. So we have to develop a network of stakeholders. For me, it is essential to also associate private sectors, notably financial sectors, of course, and clin d'œil for OECD, in respect of conflict of interest and neutrality and objectivity of the content of financial education. But they could contribute largely to this effort of financial literacy for
citizens
and for population. The last
very briefly, maybe
yeah,
because we have
okay. The last point is the coordination and monitoring, which is a very challenging also, I think, action. And we need to have one pilot, not a lot of, one pilot, one coordinator at national level to follow and to monitor and to maybe give directive and insights about the national initiatives for financial education.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess we do have very high ambitions for the ECOFIN meeting later on this week. So I learned that we have to do it together. It has to be consistent. It has to be in the curriculum. And we have to have a Wikifin lab in every country. I guess this is kind of summary of the takeaways. We don't have any further time for Q&A. I'm very sorry for that. This is the disadvantage of the first session, the first panel. It might be that we are squeezed some time. The main advantage of being in the first panel is that there is a coffee break afterwards, such that you do have time for Q&A during the lunch and during the coffee break. So thank you very much for the panelists for this round. Thank you very much.